Welcome to Inspiration and Transformation from the Banks of the Ganga with Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati, an American sannyasi living at the Parmarth Niketan Ashram in Rishikesh, India. Sadhvi is president of the Divine Shakti Foundation, a charitable organization bringing education, vocational training, upliftment, and empowerment programs to women and children. Sadhvi is also Secretary General of the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance and Director of the world-famous International Yoga Festival. Join the musings of an American sannyasi as Sadhvi shares the wisdom and teachings of her guru, His Holiness Pujya Swami Chidanand Saraswatiji.
Welcome everyone to Inspiration and Transformation from the holy banks of the sacred Ganga River in the land of Rishikesh, India. The true you is none of those characters, because the true you is unchanging. And as you say, we play so many roles, and we do even just in the course of one day. We play the role in many of our cases as the child to our parents, maybe a husband or a wife, a friend, maybe a mother or a father to our children. And that's before we've even left the house. Then we play our role in our job. Maybe we're the employee to the boss, but maybe we're the supervisor to someone below us. We're the colleague to someone else's competitor. So many roles we play. Then we go out with friends for a cup of tea or coffee, play a different role. One day. But the true you isn't any of them. They're all just different roles. And by the way, that doesn't mean they're bad or wrong. They're beautiful. We're supposed to be playing them. And we're supposed to be playing them fully and even enjoying them. Doesn't mean what we have to do is always enjoyable, ask Arjun. But we play these roles. And yeah, as much as possible, enjoy them. Why not? It's beautiful. It's a beautiful creation. Like we've got these 5 senses. Okay, we're not the senses, we're not the body. I'm not my eyes or ears or nose or hands or tongue. But does that mean that we shouldn't enjoy a nice, sweet, hot cup of tea? Or some beautiful music? Or hugging someone we love? Or seeing a sunset? Of course we should. So, we've been given these senses to interact with the world and to enjoy as much as we can. The problem comes when we start to think we are them, that we are that perception. And then we get angry, we get greedy, we get lustful, we get jealous, because we've over-identified with that which we're bringing in through our sensation into our perception. And we get caught in the ignorance of thinking that which I'm enjoying is real and this is me. Who you are isn't the 5 senses, isn't the body, isn't the roles, isn't the characters. But in this human existence, in this human incarnation, they're all different ways of us enjoying our incarnation and purifying that mind. The core of who you are is pure and perfect, divine, God, in fact. But the mind that doesn't know that, that's what gets purified through our sadhana, through our meditation, through our prayers, through our seva, through all of what we do. And so we play the roles, play them with love, play them with sincerity, play them to the best we're able. But we realize it's not me. For example, say you have a job, you're a doctor. Well, tomorrow someone sues you for malpractice, you get fired. Or you retire. Okay, you've lost your job, but you haven't lost yourself, which means that you weren't the job. We have a relationship, we identify. Someone's husband, someone's wife, someone's son or daughter, mother, father. And then we lose that person, whether through divorce, whether through death. But we don't cease to exist. So that's how we slowly begin to realize, well, I wasn't those roles. I wasn't those characters I was playing. Because see, that role is over. But I'm still here. So, yeah, you play a lot. But that's where this wetsuit, for me as a visual person, is such a powerful ritual. Because when I take it off, and by the way, yeah, that wetsuit may be lots of roles. It's not only one role. It's all the roles you play. But when you take it off, then it's just you. And you start to really be able to experientially feel, maybe you were carrying something from the day, some remnant of some interaction that happened, some piece of drama in your drama. You take it off and it feels so free to just be free of the drama, free of the role, free of the box. Because our characters put us in boxes. Whether it's a role in the job or a role in a relationship, even the best relationships, we're still frequently in boxes of sort of what's expected of us as our role. You're not acting like you today, right? There's an expectation. What's happened to you? There's an expectation. You are supposed to be like this. And to be able to just is a really beautiful experience. And it helps you stay very anchored and calm when there's struggles in the roles and in the character and in the drama. Because you remember, I am not that. I'm the one wearing the wetsuit.
You're listening to OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Hi, this is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Every 2 minutes, another American is sexually assaulted. If you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, you are not alone. Help is just a call or click away through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Please call 1-800-656-HOPE, that's HOPE, or visit rain.org, that's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
Welcome back to Inspiration and Transformation. I'm so glad to have you all back here with me.
All of these paths are beautiful. Whether we are chanting japa, whether we are meditating, whether we are engaged in seva, whether we are engaged in puja and bhakti, whether we are engaged in reading scriptures, they're all different ways in. Ultimately, the goal is get in. The way that I always think about it is, here we are on the banks of Ganga. Ganga is the mother goddess, right? That bestower of liberation. But how you get into Ganga doesn't matter. You can walk down the beautiful marble steps of Parmarth Niketan. You can walk next door to Gita Bhavan. You can go down the ramp. You can walk up to Ram Jula and hang out on the beach and go in from the sand. You can go up to Lakshman Jula or past where there's big, big rocks and jump into Ganga from the rock. But it doesn't matter. Ganga's not saying, oh, you walked in off the beach. Okay, so you only get like this much blessings, this much moksha. But you jumped off the rock, like you get double blessings. She's not saying that. Doesn't matter how you get in. The only point is get in. So if chanting japa connects you deeply to the divine, and you feel it, and you feel that connection to God and to your true self, beautiful, do it. If you experience in meditation, do it. You can also do both. I know personally, I begin my meditation practice with japa. I begin by chanting japa. It gets me into this very, very beautiful meditative state of my heart being opened. My mind is clear. And then I go into meditation. So, however it works for you. The difference is meditation usually requires us at some point to be seated with our eyes closed. Now, yes, there's walking meditation. There's so many other types of meditation that we do, but we really benefit if we have some seated, eyes closed meditation practice. Even if we also do walking meditation, even if we also do eating meditation. It's actually a beautiful practice, mindful eating. It's a beautiful practice. But we really benefit with a seated, eyes closed, or eyes sort of 3/4 closed meditation. Japa, though, you can do it all day long. You can be driving the car and doing japa. Grocery shopping, doing japa. Washing the dishes, doing japa. So it's somewhat more versatile in that way. And so I think that you should do both. When you've got time and space to be seated with your eyes closed, meditate. Maybe you want to begin the meditation by a chanting of japa. And then as you move through the world, allow that mantra to keep chanting, keep chanting, keep chanting. Okay. Yeah. It's like saying, you love her. Well, is it better to love her by hugging her, or is it better to love her by feeding her, or better to love her by reading to her, or better to love her by combing and braiding her hair? Well, they're all things you do as a mom. There's no better or worse. They're all just different ways of showing her, that you love her. So in the same way, we love God. These are all just different ways of connecting in love to God.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. a philanthropic organization. Their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Like Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with inspiration and transformation.
The reason we stay in a relationship is not so much about who's doing what. Then it just becomes like a contractual arrangement, which works for, couple days. You got a little project you've got to do with someone. You say, all right, I'll do this, you do that. We'll meet back up after 3 hours and assess. But for decades, you can't base a relationship and the love of a relationship if what you're looking for is real joy and real connection. It can't just be about a contract of you do this, I'll do that. Yes, of course, we have traditional roles. And you speak about a family with theoretical traditional roles. The man should be supporting the family, the woman is taking care. In this case, it sounds like the man is not supporting the family. Okay. So he's not holding up his end of the role. But that doesn't mean that the woman should leave the relationship, because I would hope that that wasn't the basis of the relationship, but that the basis of the relationship was love and connection. If it's not, then we have a whole other problem entirely. Let's take them as two possibilities. Possibility one, there is no real love. There is no real relationship. It is just a contract. You do this, I'll do that. And we'll kind of peacefully cohabit. In that case, if the man is not doing his arrangement, the woman certainly could think about leaving. Because clearly there's no relationship anyway. There's no love anyway. It's a contractual arrangement. He's not fulfilling his contract. Okay, every contract we sign has got all these clauses, right? If the other party doesn't do what they say they're going to do, we've got exit clauses. But marriage is not supposed to be a contract. Marriage is supposed to be a union. And in a union, it's not about 50-50. It's about a merging into oneness. And if you're in a relationship for long enough, inevitably there are fluctuations. There are moments and times and phases where one person seems to be contributing more on a logistic level than the other. And then there are phases where the other one is contributing more. Either way. Or maybe one is contributing a lot more logistically and the other is the beautiful holder of the love in the family. There's no right way, but there should be love. And if there isn't any love, even if the other guy is holding up his end of the contract, I'm still not so sure I would say that's a fantastic place to be. We should try to find, and if it's not there, can we cultivate it? Can we create it? Can we grow love? Because your fulfillment as a wife, in the long run, is not going to be about how much money he brings in or how many dishes he helps with or does he ever grocery shop, or it's going to be about the love you feel with him. And if you don't feel love, then no matter how much money he brings in, yeah, it's never going to be enough. It's not going to matter. And if you do feel love, then whoever's bringing in the money, it's all one. It's all the same thing. It doesn't matter. There is no yours and mine. So that's the key. And certainly conversations can be had about, hey, it would be great if you could fill in the blank, whatever it is that he's not doing. We all have to get held up to a responsibility to contribute in our way into a system, and a family is certainly a system. And it's good for children to learn everyone contributes, even the kids. That's why kids should have chores. Even if there's help in the house, the kids should still have chores. Just so that everybody knows, everybody contributes. We are a family system and everyone is a contributing member. But if your friends are saying, why do you stick around? If they are simply saying because he doesn't hold up his end of the financial bargain or the logistic bargain, but you really love him, then I would find new friends. Or explain to your friends that you really love him. And that there's no reason for them to be pestering you in this way. But if your friends are really good friends and what they're seeing is that there isn't any love, that you are being totally taken advantage of, then it might be worth your while to at least listen to what they have to say and ask yourself why you're prepared to be in a situation that has no love and in which you're doing all the work and in which there is literally nothing you're getting in return on any level whatsoever. And to ask yourself if you have any alternatives. My favorite alternative would be, can you create love? Like you're already living under the same roof, you've already got a family together. Are there seeds of love that could be watered? A lot of times in families, we get so bogged down in the logistics that the love kind of dries up. There was love, but then there came kids and jobs and mortgages and in-laws and life issues, and suddenly it seems to dry up. And that's where it's really important to dedicate time and energy to revitalizing that, to taking some time away. It doesn't have to be days, it could just be hours, but some time. Because love has to be nourished and nurtured and watered. But if there really isn't any love either, and you've tried and it's been years and there are no seeds, you're watering just soil that has no seeds in it, then it really may be worth thinking about what other alternatives you have for your life.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Like Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with Inspiration and Transformation.
How do I live a more conscious life in what I wear, buy, eat, consume, and do? Beautiful. And one of my favorite topics. Consciousness, which is something that we focus on in our spiritual life. Connecting with not just the physical body, not just the fluctuation of the chemicals and electricity in my brain that we call thoughts or emotion, but actually connecting with consciousness. That's what we do on our spiritual path and our spiritual practice. It's what meditation helps us do. It's what prayer, mantra, jap, seva, all of these things help us do. But that consciousness isn't supposed to stay only on my cushion or on my mat or only when I'm meditating, then I'm conscious. When I'm praying, then I'm conscious. But the rest of the time, wo to man hai, hai na, we say. But the goal of a spiritual life is how to bring that consciousness into every minute, into every moment, into every decision. How do I make every choice one in consciousness? So the first piece is actually the simplest, but really the most important. Is just quite literally, when we meditate, we are drawing our awareness to a single point usually, maybe our breath, maybe a mantra, maybe a candle flame. Whatever it is, we are drawing our awareness to that point. And every time that our mind wanders, we bring it back. This is what we learn in our meditative practice. Otherwise, a thought comes and we end up riding that thought into God knows where. So I'm meditating and suddenly I smell the the neighbors are brewing coffee. And the mind goes, oh, I could really use a cup of coffee. Oh, but no, I gave up chai and coffee because I made this promise to God that if my child got into the university they wanted to go to pura ek saal tak na main coffee piyungi, na main chai piyungi. To maine coffee to chhod diya. Oh ho ho, I remember now that trip I took to Paris, sitting on the banks of the Seine, on the banks of the river, drinking beautiful cappuccino. Right now, I was supposed to be meditating. All that happened was I noticed the smell of coffee. Aur main kahan se kahan pahunch gayi? Sitting on the Champs-Élysées in Paris, drinking cappuccino, God knows how many number of years ago. Once we notice that that's what the mind does, we become able to just bring it back. So I notice the smell of coffee. And immediately I bring my awareness back to my breath, back to the mantra. I don't allow my awareness to get hijacked by every passing smell or sound or thought or itch. Oh my God, what if there are ants all over me? What if I'm getting bit by a mosquito? Maybe then I'll get malaria or a dengue. Right? You see, just one little sensation of a bit of itching on the knee lands me in my mind at death's door in the hospital. This is the nature of the mind. Now, when you think about our decisions in our day-to-day life, how do we live them consciously? Well, the first is the exact same as what we do in meditation. We make sure that we are aware that when I go to a restaurant, or I go to a department store, or I go to a grocery store, or I go to Amazon.com to buy something, to order something, that I am present, that I'm fully aware of actually what I need to buy, what I want to eat, not on autopilot, not run by desires, not run by random thoughts of a TV commercial that I saw where the woman eating the hamburger looked so beautiful and she seemed so happy. And so, cello, I'll have a hamburger because I also want to look so beautiful and happy. Not that. Not that unconscious hijacked of my awareness. Because none of us do that consciously. If I'm really conscious, I'm not going to say, oh, I want to look just like the person in the TV commercial. We understand what the commercial is. We're not going to base our lives on it. It's only when we are unconscious, functioning on this autopilot level, that we make those sorts of decisions. It's also when we start buying things that we don't need, just because inside me I'm feeling empty, or I'm feeling bored, or I'm feeling depressed, or I'm feeling less than compared to other people around me. And so I start buying more and more, more and more, to feel full inside. This is unconscious. So the first thing we do is we simply bring our awareness to that moment. What do I really need? What am I shopping for? Who is shopping? Because this is also critical. We lose who am I? Who is doing the shopping, and what are my needs? What are my values? What are my ethics? So that we're present, because you open a menu and there's 200 things you can order. You go to a grocery store, there's 2,000 things you can buy. You go to Amazon, there's 200,000 things you can buy. So it's very easy to get caught up. So first we stay aware. And once we are aware, then we are able to recognize the impact of the decisions that we make on our life. We speak and hear so much about karma and destiny and what's been predetermined. Well, my choices, what I'm buying, what I'm doing, what I'm wearing, what I'm eating, are determining my own physical health, my emotional health, and the health of our planet. So, for example, let's take eating. Well, most of us eat for reasons that have nothing to do with nourishing our body. Okay? Most of us eat because we're bored, because we're frustrated, or because it's just time to eat, whether I'm hungry or not. Khane ka time hai. A lot of times we eat because we think food is love. When we were young, we were given food when we were unhappy, cookies and cakes and whatnot. And so now when I'm upset as an adult, I do the same thing. So I eat unconsciously. The dilemma with that is not only is my health, physical and emotional being impacted, but it's impacting our planet. So, for example, meat, animal agriculture, hamburgers, hot dogs, chicken McNuggets, the cows, the pigs, the chickens who are being raised to be food. Not only is it bad for our health, you don't need me to tell you about fat and cholesterol and blood pressure and whatnot. But it's actually the single greatest cause of climate change. It's one of the greatest causes of environmental destruction, of world hunger. The amount of grain, means wheat, rice, soy, corn, that goes into the production of 1 pound of beef is the same amount of grain from which you could get 16 pounds of bread or rice or pasta. 16-1. So every single time that I choose to eat meat, I am literally saying, I deserve the food for 15 other people. Let them starve because I want to eat a hamburger. Now that's unconscious because consciously none of us would say, oh yeah, those starving children, koi baat nahi, mard nahi do. We all have some amount of compassion within us, some amount of caring within us. We would never steal bread out of the hands of a starving child on the side of the road. Koi soch nahi sakte. But when we eat meat, that's exactly what we're doing. We actually produce enough grain, wheat, rice, corn, soy, to feed more than 10 billion people. Much more than the number of people who actually live on Earth. And yet every day, tens of thousands of people are dying of starvation because we are cycling our grain into meat instead of into bread and chapatis and rice and pasta to actually feed people. So that's just one example. Another example with it, the amount of water. We know that we are at a global water crisis precipice. Just go to Google, go anywhere where they're sharing news. We are on the verge of a global water catastrophe. Hundreds of millions of water refugees will have to leave their homes over the next couple of decades, not hundreds of years, decades. As sea levels rise because of climate change, as our drinking water gets depleted, as the drinking water gets polluted, hundreds of millions of people will become refugees. The United Nations predicts that by 2040, we will only have half the drinking water that we need. And India, by the way, is on track to be there by 2030. It's basically tomorrow. Jitna jal jaruri hogi, peene ke liye, खाने बनाने के लिए, खेत सींचने के लिए, इतनी आधा होगा अपने पास. And yet, the amount of water that goes into the production of a pound of meat, so you and a couple friends sit down to hamburgers. That's the same amount of water that you use in bathing every day for 6 months. 6 months bathing worth of water goes into one meal of hamburgers, which means if we care about water on earth, क्या हम 6 महीने तक बिना स्नान जीने के लिए तैयार हैं? Obviously not. But if we eat hamburgers, literally we would have to not bathe for 6 months to offset the water usage. कुछ लोग कहते हैं कि चलो मैं मांस नहीं खाती हूँ, मैं chicken खाती हूँ. Well, chicken is about 1/3. So you'd have to not bathe for 2 months to offset the amount of water that goes into the production of chicken. So when we speak about conscious living, it means I am aware. When I am ordering in a restaurant, I am aware. I'm not just ordering a hamburger or chicken McNuggets. I am ordering a ripple impact upon the planet of hunger, of death, of poverty, of environmental destruction. So we choose consciously. This information, it's not meant to make you feel guilty. It's what makes us feel empowered. Wow, every meal I have the ability to make that kind of a ripple impact. What we wear, what we buy, well, everything is produced somewhere in a factory. चाहे जो कपड़े हम पहनते हैं, चाहे जो मोबाइल हम यूज करते हैं, जो भी है, जूते पहनते हैं, whatever it is, our clothes, our shoes, all of our items are produced somewhere. If our only goal is more, cheaper, well, that's what will be provided. The law of supply and demand says that what people want, I will provide. You want cheaper, tika. In order to produce things more cheaply, it means as a factory owner, I have to cut corners. So all of that treatment of our waste, all of that clean management that we could have invested in, I'm going to cut corners. Instead, मैं वो जो check करने वाले आदमी को 100 रुपया, 1000 रुपया दे दूंगी, ताकि he gives me a pass, rather than actually taking care of the waste that's polluting the air, polluting the water, polluting the ground. Or I'm going to run my factory with children and women who I can pay next to nothing to, keep them as slaves, work them in sweatshops, unsafe conditions, so that I can produce more, cheaper. तो जब हम कपड़े खरीदने जा रहे हैं या जो भी खरीदने जा रहे हैं, हमें ये देखना है कि कौन सी कंपनी का सामान खरीद रहे हैं. Which company are we buying from? क्योंकि हमको लगता है कि हम voting एक बार करते हैं. When we go to the election, that we vote. We vote in our state election, we vote in our local election. But we actually vote every time we spend money. We are voting for equality, for safety, for health, for the women and children of our planet. If I'm putting my money in a company that is running sweatshops in India, in Bangladesh, in other countries, where women and children are suffering and dying, or a company that's producing cotton, for example, with toxic chemicals as fertilizers, as pesticides, ताकि किसान वालों को कैंसर हो रहा है, उनकी बच्चों को birth defects हो रहा है, because of the sprays, because of the chemicals. वो हिंसा है. It's violence. And when we speak about karma, ऐसे नहीं कि मैंने अपने हाथ से उनको नहीं मारा, so I am absolved. The fruits of karma, it's not just what I actually do with my own hands. It's what I'm doing indirectly also. So if I'm supporting companies, engaging in behaviors that are having ripple impacts of violence, of harm to our environment, to the farmers, to the women, to the children, to the future generations, their blood is on our hands. And I know it's not easy to hear, but if we want to live conscious lives, as Pujya Swamiji always says, spirituality is not a weekend business. It's not just, jab mera paas thoda sa samay ho, then I am spiritual. Spirituality is something that infuses our every minute and every moment. So when I learn yoga, and I learn about yam and niyam, ahimsa, satya, asteya, this is not just in my yoga class. This is actually in my life. And so we actually have the opportunity again, ye guilty feel karne ke liye nahi hai. This is actually to give us the opportunity to live yoga and live spirituality and live consciousness every minute. Nahi to log kehte hai, oh mera paas time nahi hai. Dhyan karne ki time nahi hai. I don't have time to meditate. Well, this actually enables us to turn our meal time, our grocery shopping time, our errands time into our spiritual practice. And the good thing is these days, you can find out everything. Online, there's so many ways to find out which companies, for example, are testing on animals. If you're a woman, do you wear makeup? Do we all? We use shampoo, we use soap, we use sunscreen. Well, a lot of companies actually test these products by smearing them in the eyes of animals. Check karne ke liye ki kya jalan hoga? Agar mera shampoo aankh mein jaate to jalan hoga ki nahi? Well, insaan ke upar test to nahi kar sakte hain. So they test it on animals. And they're burning the eyes of animals, burning the skin of animals. We don't need to do it anymore. These days with computers, with artificial intelligence, we're able to test everything. We don't need to be harming and killing animals in our laboratories to make sure that our lipstick is safe or that our shampoo is safe. You can find out all this information online, lists of which products test on animals, which products use animals in their product, which companies have sweatshops in developing nations where women and children are subjugated to oppression, and which companies are organic and fair trade. Their workers are paid good wages, safe working conditions, clean for the air, clean for the soil. These lists are available. So it's up to us. Do we want to live consciously or not? So many people say all the time, "Acha, Ganga should be clean. Ganga should be clean," right? Agar hum ek Swachh Ganga rally karne jayenge to sabhi aayenge, right? Agar main kahungi chalo kal subah everybody should join us on the banks of Ganga, ek rally hogi, save Ganga ke liye, to sabhi aayenge, hai na? And yet, if you look around, what material are your handbags made of? What material are your shoes made of? What material are your belts made of, or your car seat? In so many cases, it's leather. And yet, while on the one hand, we're ready to go to a rally and yell for clean Ganga, we're actually putting our rupees into the companies that are actually polluting Ganga the worst. The tanneries are some of the worst polluters of Ganga. And so this is just a shift in consciousness. Sabhi chahte hai ki Ganga saaf ho, nirmal ho, aviral ho. But agar hum sabhi log leather shoes, leather handbags, leather car seats khareedne ja rahe hain. So they're all making money. Why will they stop? Why will they change? And yet we learn, I have the power to bring about change, not just Ganga ka tat pe khade hoke ek sign lekar ya koi slogan bolenge, but actually by putting my money where my mouth is, by voting with my rupees for a clean Ganga. So it's a beautiful way. I've just given you maybe, 5, 10 different ways that every day, chahe dhyan karne ki time ho ka nahi, you are able to actually live every minute consciously, mindfully. And that becomes your spiritual practice. Dhyan bhi karna chahiye. We still should be meditating. But this gives us the opportunity to meditate every minute of the day.
This brings to a close this hour of inspiration and transformation. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad to be together with you all each week, and I look forward to being together again next Thursday, same time, on OMTimes Radio.